views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hello and welcome to Open BXRX Tuesday, a weekly program providing you the latest information, resources, services, and community efforts taking place locally here in the Bronx and virtually. I'm your host, Sonyi Lopez, and today is Tuesday, June 15th. Coming up, find out how NYC Care seeks to provide low to no-cost health services to eligible New Yorkers through NYC Health and Hospitals. Then we'll learn about Public Bank NYC, a coalition of 30 advocacy groups that believe public money should work for the public good, not private gain. After that, a new rideshare platform has emerged in New York City, and this time, the drivers are also the owners. Stay tuned to learn more about the Drivers Cooperative. And stay fit at home with BX Fit, a free weekly virtual workout session brought to you every Wednesday by BCHN Health and Marvel Fitness and Conditioning. So please stick around. Open BXRX Tuesday starts right now. Welcome to Open BXRX Tuesday on BronxNet. I'm your host, Sonyi Lopez, and I'd like to invite you to get social with us at BronxNet TV on Instagram and Twitter, and BronxNet Community Television on Facebook. Healthcare is a human right that may not be accessible or affordable to all. In an effort to bring low-cost to no-cost healthcare access to New Yorkers, NYC Care provides services at New York City Health and Hospitals facilities. Joining us now to share what you need to qualify and more is Marielle Kress, Executive Director of NYC Care. Welcome, Marielle. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Sonyi, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Happy to have you. So, of course, to start, Marielle, for those who are not familiar, can you tell us about NYC Care and your mission?
Absolutely. NYC Care is a healthcare access program that provides low or no-cost services to New Yorkers who don't qualify for or who can't afford health insurance at New York City Health and Hospitals locations all across the 5 boroughs. So we're really providing a comprehensive set of benefits to people who have historically and previously not been able to access care because they're unable to access insurance.
Thank you for expanding on that, Marielle. And when we consider some of those issues and obstacles that people face, particularly here in New York City, when it comes to accessing healthcare, how does this program seek to address some of these, especially during the pandemic when people need healthcare the most?
Absolutely. Thanks for the question. So we know that access to healthcare has always been incredibly important, particularly for our most vulnerable neighbors and New Yorkers. And that's become even more apparent in the pandemic, how important it is to have access to ongoing life-saving care. We know that most of our members, we have around 75,000 in the program right now across the 5 boroughs, live in the neighborhoods that have been hardest hit by COVID-19. And so previously, a lot of the barriers to access have been affordability and really knowing what you're expected to pay when you come see the doctor. So our membership card lists your specific fees that you're expected to pay to come see the doctor. And people who are living below the poverty line don't have to pay anything to come see the doctor. So it's free and accessible. And we want people to access the services that they need without fear of the cost or worry about their immigration status as well. And I think also language has been a real barrier. So our contact center has agents in multiple languages. All of our materials are translated into multiple languages, and we really prioritize language access through the program.
Thank you for sharing. And what are some of those services that members can access through NYC Care, Marielle?
Absolutely. So we're really prioritizing access to a primary care provider. So we're offering all new patients who enroll in the program an appointment with a primary care provider within 2 weeks of enrollment. And that primary care provider can help folks get access to specialty care. So if you need to work with a cardiologist or a podiatrist if you have diabetes, can really manage those chronic conditions that folks have, provide access to pharmacy benefits, so lots of different prescription medications, also 24/7 access to prescription medications, and really all of the services that New York City Health and Hospitals provides through its facilities.
Oh, sounds wonderful. So you did mention that NYC Care is not an insurance plan. How is it different from insurance, and can it substitute insurance? I also see that members receive their own membership cards. It looks like an insurance card, but it's not quite that.
Yeah, exactly. So NYC Care is not an insurance program. It's a healthcare access program.
Mhm.
And part of the way that individuals get access to the program is that we actually screen people for insurance first, because we really want people to enroll in insurance if they're eligible for insurance. Insurance does include a broader network of providers. So individuals who are accessing services through New York City Health and Hospitals are accessing them only at New York City Health and Hospitals locations. But unlike insurance, there are no premiums or monthly fees that one has to pay. So, we want people to enroll in the program that they're eligible for. And when they come to see us, if they're uninsured, we'll help them either get connected to insurance, or if they're not eligible, NYC Care.
Got it. Thank you. So when we talk about the services and how much we have to pay, how are those payments determined?
Yeah,
From
absolutely. Yeah, so our sliding fee scale is based on an individual's income and household size as well. So individuals who are making less than around $13,000, so below the poverty line, are not paying anything to come use our services and see our doctors or go to the emergency department or get inpatient care. So any of our services, if you're under 100% of the federal poverty level, are free, and our medications are $2 per prescription. And then it goes up from there based on your income and household size.
So do all hospitals in the Bronx currently accept NYC Care?
So the New York City Health and Hospitals locations in the Bronx accept NYC Care. So our locations include Lincoln Hospital, North Central Bronx, and Jacoby. And then we also have a really extensive network of community health clinics all across the Bronx. We even have opened a really beautiful new clinic in the Tremont neighborhood that is a COVID Center of Excellence. So we're providing enhanced care for people who have experienced COVID and maybe still experiencing symptoms, but also really great access through that clinic for anyone who needs primary care services as well.
Wonderful. And Marielle, when we talk about the qualifications, what are some of those requirements? What do people need, to apply? Who qualifies in general?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, we're going to help people identify anything that they're eligible for. So if you're not eligible for insurance and you live within the 5 boroughs of New York City for 6 months, then you're likely eligible for NYC Care. So we'll assist you with going through the New York State of Health insurance eligibility process. We'll see if you're eligible for anything through that marketplace or Medicaid. And then if you're not, or you're only eligible for Medicaid for the treatment of emergency services, and you meet the other eligibility criteria, then you can enroll in NYC Care. That process includes producing proof of your identity, where you live, and also your income. But our financial counselors, when you call, you'll get connected to a financial counselor who will help you go through that process. And our financial counselors are really skilled at helping people produce those documents that I just mentioned in all different types of scenarios. So if people are not paying taxes or they're receiving payments in cash, they will help you get the documents that you need in order to work through the process. So if you don't have documents that are listed on our website, don't worry, we'll help you.
Got it. Very helpful information, Marielle. I also wanted to stress, you did mention this earlier, but can we discuss the eligibility for NYC Care despite immigration status? I know a lot of our Bronxites are concerned about not qualifying for health insurance or, any type of medical help if they're not documented. Can you stress a little bit on that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So folks are eligible for NYC Care if they are unable to afford health insurance based on federal guidelines, or they're ineligible for health insurance. And largely in New York, the folks who are ineligible for health insurance are ineligible because of their immigration status.
Mm-hmm.
And so, many of our members are undocumented, and we invite anybody, regardless of their immigration status, to come to seek care at our facilities, to enroll in our programs. We keep all of our information confidential. The information that you're providing us is only used to determine your eligibility for various healthcare products, insurance, or NYC Care. And confidentiality is really at the core of everything that we do. So please come and seek care regardless of your immigration status.
Thank you for emphasizing that, Marielle. And before we go, finally, I know people are tuning in and they're like, how can I enroll? Where do I go? How can people enroll for NYC Care? And where can we go to find out more information?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find out more information on our website, which is nyccare.nyc. And if you're ready to enroll, you can call our phone number at 646-NYC-CARE, which is 646-692-2273. And our operators are there 24/7 in multiple languages to assist you with enrollment. And please join the thousands and thousands of other New Yorkers who have already enrolled and are seeing the benefits of the program. We have people who have chronic conditions who are experiencing control of their chronic conditions. We have people who have never come to see a doctor in this country despite being here for decades. And it's really changing people's lives to access that care and have that peace of mind.
Just out of curiosity, Marielle, when did the program launch here in the Bronx in particular?
Yeah, so the Bronx was our first borough. We launched in August. We launched in August of 2019 in the Bronx. And then we've gone to all of the other boroughs. So we're live in all 5 boroughs. And even if you see a provider in the Bronx, but you need a specialty service at another clinic or another hospital, you can access services at all of our clinics and facilities all across the 5 boroughs, regardless of where you live in the city.
Wonderful. I'm glad to hear that we were the launching pad, the launching borough, the first to receive the services. And thank you again, Marielle, for your time today and for sharing more information. One more time for our viewers, how to sign up, how to enroll before we go, just in case, someone went and walked away for some water or something and needs that information again.
Absolutely. So call us at 646-NYC-CARE, which is 646-692-2273. You can call us 24/7. We'll serve you in multiple languages, and we'll help you get enrolled in the program and start accessing services.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Marielle, again for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great day.
You too. Marielle Kress is the Executive Director of NYC Care, NYC Health and Hospitals. We'll be right back here on Open BXRX Tuesday.
We know that people are dealing with the health crisis, but there's also a lot of food insecurity.
We're giving out healthy food options, and that's what's key here.
If you're a senior, you have a disability, they'll actually deliver meals to you.
The residents are anxious, they're worried, they're scared, they want to be tested.
When things were happening in our community and we couldn't get the help.
There's almost a presumption of criminality that attaches to your skin color.
The site will prioritize those who are at highest risk in the population.
If you feel symptoms and you'd like to visit one of these COVID-19 testing sites here in the Bronx, you may call the State Health Department's hotline.
Important to note about this site is no reservations are needed. This is a walk-in clinic.
A lot of us are out of work and looking for something to do.
We have the machinery and the skills to make large scales of these masks and gowns.
Take care of your people. It's going to go way further than we actually can understand.
Right now, employees like myself are just adjusting to the new reality.
Reporting from Bronx, this is Trans.
If you're struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit, or call toll-free at 833-511-0311. That's 833-511-0311.
We built a media network for you.
BronxNet TV.
Come learn in your new state-of-the-art studios at Lehman College.
At Mercy College.
And coming soon to the South Bronx in the Hub.
Inspire with your stories, culture, history.
Your Bronx on BronxNet.
Engage with us.
Connect with us at your channels and at BronxNet.tv.
Learn, engage, inspire. BronxNet TV.
From the Bronx
to the world.
BronxNet.
Welcome back. North Dakota has the only state-owned bank in the nation. And across the country, campaigns to create more public banks have emerged over the past few years. There's a movement here in New York City. So what exactly are public banks and how do they benefit us? Joining us now to share more is Tousif Ahsan, a member of Public Bank NYC Coalition on behalf of NYPIRG. Welcome, Tousif. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Happy to have you. So to start off, for those who are not familiar, can you tell us about Public Bank NYC and your mission?
Sure. So Public Bank NYC is a coalition of grassroots organizations from all around the city. Our goal is to come together in order to establish a public bank here in New York City. Since then, our mission has actually broadened. There's a statewide fight for public banking, and so we've joined that effort as well. But essentially, here in New York City, every single year, we put our tax dollars on deposit with Wall Street banks. Here in New York City, that amounts to more than $90 billion. So that's a lot of money that we're talking about. Every single year, Wall Street banks like Chase, Bank of America, TD, they hold our money in the same way that, when you get money, you put it into a bank account. And when New York City needs that money, we take it out, use it on services like sanitation, public safety, et cetera, et cetera. But the thing is that while Wall Street holds our money, they get to invest it into whatever industries and projects they think is profitable. So that means that Wall Street, what they end up doing is they end up investing in some of the most harmful and destructive industries that you can imagine. So Wall Street is investing in fossil fuels, private prisons, immigrant detention centers, the gentrification and displacement of our neighborhoods. And once again, because they hold our city deposits, they're using our money to make those investments. So we, in fact, by that property, we are investing in all of these harmful industries and investing in the destruction of our own communities. And so the problem is that we don't have a public option, right? If we wanted to take our money out of Wall Street, there really isn't any answer for that, right? If we take it out of Chase, it'll go into TD or Bank of America, same problem. And so the campaign for a public bank is about creating that public option. If we had a public bank here in New York City, a public bank being a bank that is owned and operated by New Yorkers, we could divest from Wall Street, right? Take all of our money, more than $90 billion back. And once it's in a public bank that we control, we would get to decide what projects we invest in. And so we really emphasize investing in, environmental justice, racial justice, worker justice, and small businesses. And so these are the pillars that our campaign stands on. And we believe that if we divested from Wall Street and had a public bank, it would be much better for the city because we would be in control of our money, not Wall Street.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Tousif. So you did mention some of the benefits of establishing a public bank. That was my next question. So can you just emphasize on those different benefits, and we can, show that on screen as well.
Sure. So as I mentioned before, we organize our campaign into different pillars, right? That's something that we're really proud of at our campaign. We're very intersectional. We have environmental justice groups, housing justice groups, small businesses, and so many other different, coalition partners. And so if we had a public bank, essentially with money that we already have right now, if we had control of it, we get to decide how to make those investments. So right now, a big issue that we're seeing here in New York City is the disappearance of small businesses, right? Over 300,000 small businesses have closed their doors during the pandemic, and they're not expected to come back. A big reason for that is that Wall Street banks, they don't support these small businesses, right? Small businesses need loans. They need financial support in order to stay open, and Wall Street is not interested in supporting them. They're much more interested in supporting, their preferred customers, right? Large chain retailers. And so if we had a public bank, we could give small businesses that kind of support. For housing justice, here in New York City, housing is a huge problem. People can't afford to stay in their neighborhoods. And that's because landlords and luxury developers are spending billions of dollars to displace people from their homes, kick them out of apartments and communities that they've been in for a long time, and push them out and create housing that they can no longer afford, right? If we had a public bank, we could directly give money to community land trusts, tenant co-ops, fund socialized housing, right? Put money into all these models that are proven to keep people in their homes, to keep people in their neighborhoods. Something else that we work on here at NYPIRG in particular is environmental justice. These Wall Street banks are some of the worst funders of the fossil fuel industry that you can think of. Chase, which is the biggest holder of New York City's deposits, they hold more of our money than any other Wall Street bank. They're also the biggest funder of fossil fuels among the big banks. And in the last couple of years, they've invested over $365 billion in the climate crisis. Even as we know, our planet is getting hotter, the climate is becoming more unstable. We cannot afford to fund the fossil fuel industry anymore. And yet this is exactly what they continue to do with our money. And you actually just put up an infographic, just a couple of seconds ago about how Wall Street banks have, basically taken over $1.6 billion from New Yorkers in overdraft fees during the pandemic, right? So when New Yorkers have been struggling in this historic public health crisis, they have to pay for rent, they have to pay for food, they have to pay for tuition. Wall Street banks have charged them for not having enough money in their bank account. They charge them for being too poor. And so if we had a public bank, we could instead invest in community banks and federal credit unions that actually provide equitable, responsible banking services to New Yorkers. They do a great job. They just need more money. And if we had a public bank, we could support that system.
Right. Now, Tousif, thank you so much for sharing all this information. The Public Bank Act is currently co-sponsored by three of our Bronx senators here, Jamal Bailey, Alessandra Biaggi, and Gustavo Rivera. What phase is the bill currently in, and what is needed to propel it forward?
So you listed some of the really great, supporters that we have on our bill. I'm just going to add one more person to that list. I know you just mentioned the supporters on the Senate side. On the Assembly side, Assemblymember Victor Pichardo, who's one of your representatives here in the Bronx, he's our main sponsor. So that's really, really great. And we definitely, love having Assemblymember Pichardo's support here from the Bronx. And in terms of what stage our bill is in right now, we have a lot of supporters, right, both in the Assembly and in the Senate. And essentially, right now, it's up to the leadership in Albany to move it forward. So that's Andrea Stewart-Cousins, our Senate Majority Leader, and Carl Heastie, the Assembly Majority Leader, who once again has constituents in the Bronx. And so the ball is really in their court, right? We've mobilized the base. We've gathered legislative co-sponsors in both houses. And because it's the end of the session, it's really our leadership who decides what bills are put to a vote and what bills are passed at this point. And so we really need Assembly Leader Carl Heastie and Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins to really push it over to the end. Something that we know actually is that, because this is a big bill that's gaining a lot of traction, Wall Street has started to lobby against this. And so we know that Andrea Stewart-Cousins and Carl Heastie, they're hearing from Wall Street, and because Wall Street is lobbying them really hard. And so we need our legislative leaders to listen to New Yorkers and not listen to Wall Street to really tip this bill over the edge. We don't have that much time because we are at the end of the legislative session, but they could still pass this legislation if they want to.
All right. Thank you for that. And shout out to Assembly Member Victor Pichardo. I'm sorry I missed you. You're a great friend of BronxNet. So shout outs to you for co-sponsoring this bill as well. Tousif, if a public bank is established, can any New Yorker and any Bronxite create an account at a public bank? Who would qualify?
That's something that a lot of people wonder, right? If we had a public bank, when can I open an account? When do I get my ATM card? So I just want to clarify, what our campaign means in terms of average New Yorkers being able to access fair banking services. I think that's really what this question gets to the heart of. And so we know that here in New York City, New Yorkers face widespread redlining, right? Which is when Wall Street banks basically decide to not provide banking services, or to only provide, predatory banking services or high-cost banking services to New Yorkers. We know that this is something that happens in the Bronx and in many communities around New York City that are predominantly low-income communities and predominantly communities of color. So how would a public bank help regular New Yorkers get access to those banking services? So when we say that we want to establish a public bank, that doesn't necessarily mean a bank that would have a branch where you could get those banking services. It doesn't not mean that, but the way that our coalition is working on this issue is that we are working to create a public option so that cities and local governments around the state can take their money out of Wall Street and put it into a bank that they are in charge of, that they can manage. Most of our coalition partners are really envisioning just that kind of bank, right? Where they have the opportunity to divest from Wall Street and take back control of their own money. That doesn't mean that a public bank can't provide low-cost banking services. If a city around New York wants their public bank to have that sort of service, to have that sort of vision, they can do that. And that's the beauty of the New York Public Banking Act. It lets every city, every locality decide what they want their public bank to do for them. Now, here in New York City, where we're not leaning towards that vision, we still want to support those equitable banking services. And our strategy to do that here in New York City is to have our public bank partner up with community banks and federal credit unions who already are doing this job of providing low-cost, equitable banking services to low-income communities and communities of color. So, for example, we have the Lower East Side People's Federal Credit Union. That would be an example of a bank that already provides those services. And what a public bank would do is it would simply offer those banks more money, more credit, so that they could expand their services. They're already doing good work. The biggest problem is that they don't have enough money to serve everyone. But if we had a public bank, we could give that money to those smaller banks, to community banks, to federal credit unions, to make sure that they're able to provide those services to as many New Yorkers as possible.
Thank you so much, Tousif, for joining us today. Can you just provide more information where people can find out more and support the Public Bank NYC movement?
Absolutely. So the best way to really get involved and to plug in is to follow our social media handles. So you could follow at Public Bank NYC. That's the social media handle for our coalition. You could follow at NYPIRG. That's the organization that I represent, coalition member of Public Bank NYC. And if you follow us on Twitter and Instagram, you'll be kept up to date on what our actions are, our press events, and what you can do as a New Yorker in order to let your politicians and let your legislators know how to move public banking forward here in New York.
Thank you again, Tousif, for your time today.
Thank you.
We'll be right back here on Open BXRX today. This year, New York City began using ranked choice voting in primary and special elections for local offices, such as mayor, public advocate, comptroller, borough president, and city council. Ranked choice voting means that voters can rank up to 5 candidates in order of preference, instead of casting a vote for just one. You can still vote for just one candidate if you prefer. So, how will your ballot look? Your ballot will look the same as always, except now there will be a checkbox with ranking numbers depending on how many candidates there are in a race. So how does it work? If your first choice gets over 50% of votes, they automatically win the race. If none of the candidates get more than 50% of votes on the first round, then the candidate with the least amount of votes gets eliminated, and the votes get recounted again in a second round of counting. Here's an example. Let's rank colors. I like blue the most, so I'm marking it 1. I like purple second, green third, and orange fourth. Okay, my votes are in. Now other votes are counted and the results are as follows. Blue earned 36%, purple earned 27%, green earned 19%, and orange earned 18%. As you can see, none of these colors earned more than 50% of the votes. So the one with the smallest amount of votes gets eliminated. Voters who chose orange as their first choice now have their votes distributed to their second choice. This continues until a candidate receives 50% of the votes and becomes the official winner of the race. That's it. That's ranked choice voting. Ready? Let's vote. Welcome back. A new rideshare platform has emerged in New York City, and this time the drivers are also the owners. Joining us now to share more are Erik Forman, co-founder, and Linton Kilpatrick, driver-owner at the Drivers Cooperative. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having us.
Of course.
Thank you.
Of course. Really happy to have you here to learn more about the Drivers Cooperative. So for our viewers who may not be familiar, can you just share more about the Drivers Cooperative and your mission?
Yeah, absolutely. I can take a stab at that and then hand it off to my colleague Linton. So the Drivers Cooperative is pretty simple. We are a driver-owned ride-hailing company. So our competitors Uber and Lyft are owned by Wall Street and Silicon Valley investors, and their managers run the companies to make as big profits as possible for their outside investors. Our company is owned by the drivers. I helped get it started over the last roughly year and a half. I don't even have a share myself. I actually am a TLC licensed driver, so hopefully eventually I'll qualify to get a share. But our company is wholly owned by our driver owners, like my friend Linton.
Right. And Linton, I definitely want you to chime in here. Thank you, Erik, for sharing that. As a driver owner yourself, what inspired you to join the Drivers Cooperative? Can you share your story with us?
Okay, so I've been driving with Uber and Lyft since 2015. And as a lot of Uber drivers have had, there are instances where you're deactivated first without any communication, and then you have to go about the legwork of finding out what happened and rectifying the situation. The thing that appeals to me mostly about the Drivers Cooperative is that we're based on communication. So eventually is going to be a driver's board where if there is some type of infraction, they will reach out to you, and then you have the right to defend yourself. Nothing appeals to me more than that. And then secondly, it's the money. Mm-hmm. Uber takes a major share of your earnings. I'm not disparaging Uber about that, because there's just no disparaging the volume. Mm-hmm. But like I said, there's nothing that appeals to me more than being a master of my own destiny. Mm-hmm. If I'm the boot on the ground doing the work, then I should at least be given the opportunity to defend myself if there is something negative, which I try to avoid at all costs.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing, Linton. And Erik did mention this earlier, but all driver owners received a share of the company recently, or the cooperative, sorry. Can you share more about that and just the importance of having ownership of, where you work as well?
In the gig economy, all of us that participate in it, we're always the workers, and everything is kind of dictated down to us. Whereas in the cooperative, I feel that I can not only do I feel, I can see evidence of where my input has merit.
Mm-hmm.
And so to anybody in the gig economy, you want to become a part of what you do. And I want to thank Erik for giving at least me the opportunity to be exactly that.
Right. And Erik, if you wanted to touch upon that a little bit, just about how exactly Drivers Cooperative works and, just expanding on those benefits of having this rideshare in the Bronx in particular.
Well, I want to thank Linton and the 2,500 plus drivers who have decided to stand together and make this a reality, because, the fact is that these gig economy companies, Uber and Lyft, what they are is the workers, not just because drivers are the ones. People think that when they press the button on their phone, they're getting a car. You're not getting a car, you're getting a person driving a car, right? And that person in Uber and Lyft's, the way they see the world, that person is like an afterthought, or even, I hate to say it, but even disposable. Like Linton mentioned, these companies, they treat drivers like a renewable resource. It's like they treat drivers like you hire and fire constantly. And so Uber has this churn. They turn it into a gig instead of a career. What we're trying to do in the Drivers Cooperative is not just create a great company that can provide service for Bronxites. And by the way, Linton and I are both here in the Bronx. Happy to be able to serve our home borough and be highlighted on your show in our home borough. Not just create a good service for Bronxites at lower prices by cutting out the profit, but also create higher pay for drivers and profit sharing for drivers to make this into not just a good job, but a great job. Because the fact is, driving a cab in New York City in its golden age was a good, stable job you could raise a family on. You could even say it was perhaps middle class or a step into the middle class.
Mm-hmm.
Uber and Lyft, and I'll say it, the taxi medallion owners before them, they destroyed that. And so we're looking at, it's not just building a company, but building a movement to keep wealth in our communities, make sure workers get the value of their labor. That's very important to us. And try to make the world a better place. I mean, it's really that simple. Like Uber and Lyft's management gets up every morning, they think about how do we make as much money as possible at Wall Street. We get up every morning and think, oh my God, I worked so late last night, I'm so tired. But how do we make this a better job for our members? How do we make this a better industry for all workers? How do we contribute to our community? And a lot of that comes down to ownership, it comes down to money. So going to your question about the benefits, we figured out with Uber and Lyft's pricing, they're taking this big slice at every trip. Mm-hmm. So we figured out we can both decrease prices for riders. And we all know what it's like when you open your phone and all of a sudden that trip you used to take is $20 and now it's $40. You can't afford it. So we figured we can stop doing that and have lower prices, stable prices for riders. And at the same time, we can bump up pay for drivers and still have enough to float the company. Because we're not trying to make anybody rich here. We're just trying to create a good livelihood for everybody and provide a good service. So that's a big part of it. We reduce the commission to the minimum. Our pay is 10% higher, at least 10% higher in each trip than Uber and Lyft standard fares. We then, if there's profit at the end of the year out of that commission, most of it goes back to drivers, but we're taking a slice out too, and we're saying riders will be able to vote on allocating that to causes of their choice. Whether it's a community center or the arts or social movement organizations. And that's our way of giving back. Because frankly, this is only possible because people are coming together and making a choice that we want to make a change. Drivers are saying we want to make a change. Riders are saying we want to make a change. And everybody can do that now. All it takes for you to make this a better industry and keep more money in our borough is to download our app. There it is. Co-op ride and request a trip.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Erik, for sharing. And I'm so glad to hear that you're both from the Bronx and you're driving here, working here, and you're happy to be part of this cooperative. And I always, make it my business to just really big up workers' cooperatives in our communities because, it's about putting people over profit first and foremost. And I think that's an incredible way to do business in our community. So in the past, you have partnered with candidates to offer free rides to the polls. Are you doing it again for Election Day on June 22nd? Should we look out for any offers here in the Bronx? I'm not sure if you're doing it or not.
Yes, we have a few candidates who are partnering with us to help voters get to the polls here in the Bronx. Darlene Jackson and I believe Amanda Farias as well. and other candidates. So keep an eye out. You can go to our website to see all of our partners. That's drivers.coop/go vote. And keep an ear out for news from your the candidates running in your district. Some of them will be notifying voters that they can get a free ride to the polls, courtesy of the Drivers Cooperative. And please vote. It's important for everybody to make their voices heard.
Absolutely. I know that Linton was part of the driver movement that drove people last time to their election poll sites. How was that for you, Linton?
It's awesome. I'm my primary job, I'm a network engineer where I get to speak to no one. And juxtaposed to that position is being a driver when you get to speak to everyone. And so all of those riders, we had enjoyable conversation. And you just learn a lot. And I was just happy to be able to provide a service.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing. And, one thing that I want to kind of just discuss is there is a trend with taxi drivers and, Uber and Lyft drivers often, committing suicide or becoming depressed with their positions. Can you just talk about and emphasize the impact that the industry has had on a lot of drivers and how important it is to just put people first through a cooperative like the Drivers Cooperative to lower that?
Okay. I know that I have a definitive thought on it. Mm-hmm. As a driver, well, those medallion drivers, right? They went into this and they believed what Erik said earlier about being able to support their family. And what was it? In 2015, the value of a medallion was like 1.5 million. And then in 2019, the value of a medallion was down to like 30,000. There were a lot of drivers that were upside down in those mortgages for those medallions, and they couldn't get out of it. Mm-hmm. And so that led to that depression. Drivers faced the brunt of that. Yeah. And so now what were they going to do? And that's where, as I read and have been told, that's what caused all of those suicides. Yeah. And so, today, it's a very different world, and there's a way out. Mm-hmm. And hopefully the Drivers Cooperative can be a part of that. And we're reaching out to drivers in order to give them another way.
Thank you. Thank you. And before we go, can you just share how people can learn more? And, if there's a driver listening who wants to join the cooperative, how can we do that? And how can we download the app?
Well, you can go to our website, drivers.coop. It's .coop, not .com, drivers.coop. And to download the app, there's a link on our website, or you can go to the App Store or the Play Store and just look up our app, Co-op Ride. I'll show it, take a look at it once again, just to make sure you got the right one. Here's the screen.
It's a beautiful app, by the way. Great interface.
Yes,
awesome.
Thank you. We're hoping to pick you up soon.
Yes, I'll be taking a ride over to the polls, I promise. Thank you so much, Erik and Linton, for joining us today and sharing more about the Drivers Cooperative.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Of course. We're taking a quick break here on Open BXRX Tuesday. We'll be right back. Welcome back. As gyms and fitness centers reopen and people start getting more comfortable with returning to a sense of normalcy, there is still an opportunity to work out from the comfort of your home if you prefer. BCHN Health has partnered with Marvel Fitness and Conditioning to bring you BX Fit. Joining us now to share more are Renee Whiskey, Community Health Programs Developer at BCHN, and Namdi Nelson, Fitness Coach at Marvel Fitness and Conditioning. Welcome. Thank you both so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Of course. We're excited to talk about, staying fit, getting moving, especially during these times when so many of us need to just keep active. We're a year into the pandemic, so we're happy to have you here. Before we start, can you tell us about BX Fit?
Absolutely. So Bronx Community Health Network, in partnership with Marvel Fitness and Conditioning and our very own fitness coach, Namdi Nelson, we're very proud to announce the launch of BX Fit Workout Wednesdays. Since about 1996, BCHN's mission has always been to improve the health and wellness of the Bronx, connecting community members to affordable health care, social services, providing community-based health and wellness services like workshops about chronic disease, and fitness sessions. Pre-COVID, we were doing fitness sessions in parks and at faith-based organizations, at community-based organizations. And then the pandemic came and we thought, what an ideal opportunity to really talk about what it means to be well on an ongoing basis, right? Because COVID has really taught us so much about being healthy and well, both physically and mentally. And so we connected back with Marvel and Namdi and said, you know what, let's think about how we can bring fitness to the home virtually. And now that things are starting to open back up and gyms are starting to open back up, some people maybe don't have the time to go to the gym, can't afford to go to the gym. And so we want to continue doing virtual for as long as possible, but also at some point returning to in-person as well, so we can meet people where they are. So it's a 15-minute session. It starts really with 5 minutes of warm-up, then 15 minutes of fitness and 5 minutes of cool down. And then we have the opportunity to have a short Q&A with Namdi, so you can ask specific questions.
Sounds amazing. Thank you so much for sharing, Renee. And Namdi, we're glad to have you here. Can you share what some of those workouts are people going to be expecting to participate in BX Fit?
Absolutely. So for the program for BX Fit, like Renee said before, it's going to be a 15-minute workout starting with a 5-minute warm-up. Then we'll go through 5 essential movements, followed by a cool down and stretch, and then we have a Q&A afterwards. So it's a great program for people who are new to training or not familiar with what they should be doing in the gym or the weight room. It's a good introductory beginner workout to kind of get you started, get you moving. And of course, it can be done at home with little to no equipment necessary.
Right. And as a fitness coach yourself, Namdi, how can someone like myself who hasn't really worked out too much before get started, with movement? Can you provide some helpful tips?
Yep. So what I would recommend is, a lot of times with a lot of people's goals, most general goals take 3 to 4 days of commitment per week. And then when you look at that as a shell, it's like, okay, that could be overwhelming to some people. So my suggestion would be to pick a time and try to spend about maybe 20 minutes towards your workout. So I would say, for example, let's say Tuesday morning at 7, you decide that you're going to do your workout for the week. I would stick with that time, because what happens is, if you get to that time frame and you're like, oh, I'm a little tired, I'm gonna do it a little later. Sometimes tired turns to never, and the person never gets to the workout. So one of my best tips is to actually set in your calendar, what you want to do as far as your training and your workout. And then from there, just actually follow through with it. And then as you progress and do it throughout the weeks, it'll become a habit.
Right. I think those are very important tips to give. So thank you for that. I know often my issue with working out is that I'll get started and then I'll get tired, like you said, and I won't revisit it because I burn myself out too much. And because my body's not used to it, I don't know how to do it. So I'll join you. Tomorrow's Wednesday. Today's the 15th. Tomorrow's the 16th Wednesday. So I'll be joining you at BX Fit so that I can get some of those tips and get moving with you in the Bronx.
Absolutely. Can't wait to have you there.
So Renee, if you can just share why it was so important for BCHN to partner with Marvel Fitness and Conditioning to launch this movement.
Absolutely. We've had a wonderful partnership with Namdi and Marvel Fitness that goes back quite a few years. We've worked with other fitness coaches as well. But really, we're partnering together because we have this shared goal of making the Bronx a healthy place, right? Making our communities healthier. And so providing these opportunities both in person at parks and faith-based organizations and virtually allows us to access more people. We want to meet people where they are. We want to provide access to healthy opportunities. And it's really important for us to continue with partnerships. Partnerships and supporting local businesses and entrepreneurs is critical to how we have to work within our communities to meet these shared goals.
Absolutely. Can't agree more. So Namdi, fitness classes and gyms are now open, as we mentioned, but for the last year, I can imagine that training and coaching has transformed a lot for you. How do you keep your students moving and motivated in different settings at home through Zoom? And also, can you just share about, this journey, what it's been like for you as a fitness coach?
So it's interesting because if you was to ask me this, if you was to say to me before the pandemic started last year, hey, now 40% of your training and revenue is going to come from online, I would probably laugh and say probably not, because I was so used to doing everything one-on-one and and I wasn't really doing a lot of social media and online stuff. But then as the pandemic hit, and I was like, okay, I have to figure out a way to progress this business, because it was tough for a lot of gyms out there and a lot of trainers to stay afloat. A lot of smaller boutique places wasn't able to survive it because they couldn't keep up with the demands, to keep the gyms open. So, I actually got back onto social media and really, like I said, I wasn't necessarily, as far as being on social media, I didn't have to do it because I had a lot of my clients right in front of me. But to get to social media, I had to kind of increase my exposure to everybody out there in order to kind of maintain. And it's been a good journey, because now that things are getting back to normal, I'm able to retain what I've done online, as well as retain a lot of my my trainers, my clients now.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And I think it's helpful to mention that you have a great partner in BCHN, and they're always active on social media, sharing so many resources with our community. So I'm really happy to see this partnership and hope that more people will join and, get fit with BX Fit. If you can just share, Renee, just about, the importance of keeping the Bronx moving. And, if you want to share any other resources with our Bronx community, please do so here in this space.
Absolutely. COVID has really highlighted the need for many things, right? So in addition to being active and eating well, people have to know more about how to manage their chronic disease, how to get access to a primary care doctor, how to get access to resources for food, housing, and other social needs, services for pregnant women, families with children under 18. I think this is just a part of what we're doing, this fitness journey, but health and wellness is a much broader landscape, and we provide referrals to resources, referrals to primary care providers. We connect folks to community resources like food, like housing applications. So I think in the grand scheme of talking about health and overall wellness, if there's a service that you feel you need or you don't have access to, please give us a call at 929-220-8181. And one of our community health workers will work with you to connect you to the resource that you need. We have health educators who post amazing content on our social media all the time about how to manage your chronic disease. They answer questions. So follow us on social media at BCHN Health. And of course, join our fitness programming, right? So yeah, you can register at bchn.live. Our sessions are every Wednesday at 7 p.m. It's just 15 minutes out of your time. Go on our website, register. And if you want to take a look at some of the sessions that we've done before, those are posted there as well. So we're really excited to have people join us on this fitness journey.
Thank you for that, Renee. And Namdi, I also wanted to emphasize, a lot of people, when they think about working out, they think about the physique. Like, you're going to look good, you're going to have strong arms, strong legs, but it's also about mental health, right? Just feeling good internally. Can you share more about that approach to fitness?
Absolutely. So like you just said before, a lot of time when people see trainers, they think that they want to look good, they want to feel good. But again, mental health is important. Just being able to being able to have a free mind and relieve a lot of stress. And also, when it comes to fitness, a lot of times, in addition to looking well, sometimes people have back pain, knee pain, hip and ankle pain. So, we provide a lot of corrective exercise as well to alleviate a lot of those pains and a lot of those issues. So you can actually feel good about yourself and being able to do normal everyday things, like just something as simple as sitting in the chair. It can be challenging to some people, so we look at that, and we will do assessments to make sure that you're able to do all these things that you would like to do.
If you want to share your website and your contact information as well, Namdi, we'll share that on the screen with our viewers too.
Okay, thank you very much.
And that website is marvelfitny.com, correct?
Yep.
All right. And you can follow Namdi on his page at marvelfitny. Before we go, let's invite our viewers to come and work out with you tomorrow. Share the details. How can they register? I know Renee mentioned it, but just one more time in case somebody didn't catch that.
Absolutely. So again, our live sessions are every Wednesday. That's why it's called BX Fit Workout Wednesdays. Every Wednesday at 7 p.m. It's a great way to relieve stress after work. 7 p.m. you can register in advance for up to 3 sessions at a time. It is completely free, no cost to you at all. So check out bchn.live to register, or just go to our website, bchnhealth.org, and click on the BX Fit link. You can register there as well as watch the previous sessions. So we can't wait to see you join us. It's an interactive class. We'll all be moving. You can have your camera on or off. It doesn't matter. Just come and use that 15 minutes to get physically and mentally well.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the invitation. Renee and Namdi, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty, that's all for our show today. I'm your host, Sonyi Lopez, wishing you and yours safety and wellness now and always. See you next time, and see you tomorrow at BX Fit.